I'm going to try to do just a 5-minute teaching, hopefully stay around 5 minutes, about the seasons of the Lord, or seasons of Yahweh. I want to begin by laying some foundation with scriptures, and so I want to start my reading in Genesis 1:14. It says that, And Yahweh said, Lights be in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, be for signs and for appointed times and for days and years. So the lights, which are the stars, the moon, and the sun, are for signs. They've given to us for signs, and they're for appointed times and for days and years. For appointed times, that would be particular days like Yahweh's holy days, feast days, and that's what I'm going to be talking about, because they are, in Hebrew, they're Moedim. So they're the holy convocations. In other words, they're dress rehearsals. It's just like for a wedding. You go to a wedding and you have a dress rehearsal. After you've practiced a long time, you finally have the dress rehearsal. Just like it was like it was happening then, and then you do your then you have the wedding. So the dress rehearsal prepares you for the real day of the wedding. So that's what the appointed times really are. So he said he brought forth the lights, the sun, the moon, and the stars, to be for signs and for appointed times and days. So when he says days, he means it's sundown ends the day and begins the day. So sundown Friday night to sundown Saturday night is 24-hour period, and that is called Sabbath or Shabbat. So I want to move on from there and say that the signs, let's see if I missed anything here. And then I want to jump up to Exodus 23, because Exodus 23 gives you all the feast days and the Sabbath. It begins with the Sabbath. It says, And Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, The appointed seasons of Yahweh, which you will proclaim as holy convocations, they are my appointed seasons. There's many places in the Bible that says that God detests your feast days, and he's not talking about his holy days. He's talking about the feast days that man and tradition has made. 6 days will work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath, a day of rest, a holy convocation. You will do no work on it. It is the Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings. These are the appointed seasons of Yahweh, holy convocations, which you will proclaim in their seasons. And now it begins talking about Passover, and it says, On the 14th day of the first month, at twilight, is the Passover of Yahweh. So the first month is Aviv, or Nisan, which this year I think is April 8th for us. And when he says at twilight, that means just as the sun goes down, there's an hour period, maybe an hour. It's also called Havdalah, and it's called twilight. So during that time before the next day begins, which is at night, is called twilight. So he says that's when Passover would begin. I'm not going to go through the whole thing of that. I just want to tell you that there's Passover, unleavened bread, and first fruits, all in the spring feast, which have been fulfilled with the death, burial, and resurrection of Yeshua. And then the next one is Pentecost, or Shavuot in Hebrew. That's there's 2 significant things happen then. That was the the commandments were given from Mount Sinai, and also in Acts 8, I think it's Acts 8 or Acts 2, the Spirit was poured out. They went and waited 120 days, and the Spirit was poured out on them. And then there's the Yom Teruah, the Day of Memorial, or the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, and then Tabernacles, and they all, the three of them combined, is called Tabernacles. So that is just like the names of the 7 feast days, 7 holy days. Trumpets will be when he returns, the Day of Atonement when he judges the earth, and Tabernacles will be the marriage supper of the Lamb, and the millennials will start. So there's really no way to do just 5 minutes. I'm going on 6 minutes already, but just wanted to kind of give you like a little overlay of what it says about these. And even though I'm going to go a little bit over, I'm just going to go ahead and do it because my testimony is like the last 10 years I was awakened, and I saw in the Word that I had been missing so many things, especially the feast holy days that had been replaced with man's holidays. And there is nothing as fulfilling as keeping Yahweh's holy days. And I would, if you have any questions, I would be glad to answer them as the best if I can. I'm not a scholar. It's just what I've learned through the Holy Spirit. But if you want to know more about these, you can ask questions at the bottom or inbox me, one or the other, and I'm going to try to go through each one of these separately in this series, because I did one about the Sabbath, which I could have really expounded more on, but just like this one, I'm not really getting to cover a whole lot of stuff right now, but I'm going to go through each one at a different time. But for now, I just want to explain to you what the feast days are.